Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Salaam Britain this morning on Wednesday, and we hope that everyone is having a great morning with us so far.
And today we have a special guest with us, Zeenat Ahmed-Peto, a self-employed cognitive hypnotherapist. Hypnotherapist and an experienced teacher and a trainer.
Yeah.
Zeenat has recently published her first book titled Too Kind, a survival guide for sensitive souls. So she also works with professional men and women to help them improve their boundaries, self-esteem and confidence, aiming to create more fulfillment and meaning in their lives.
Absolutely. And if you find yourself constantly putting others first and neglecting your own needs, Zeenat is here today to show us how these traits can impact your mental and physical health and how to make positive changes for a better balance. So now we'll go and welcome Zeenat to our sofa. Assalamu alaikum, Zeenat.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you for having me. It's
Thank you so
you.
much for being here with us today on the couch on Salaam Britain. We are very excited to have you. We were talking about being kind and everything, so it's obviously a word that I think gets sometimes taken for granted, and I think you're the right person to tell us all about it. So tell us a little bit about what inspired you to write this guide to survival.
So when we're growing up, we're really taught, aren't we, to be very kind to other people, be considerate, share our toys, you know, give our time, help people. And it's sort of part of our faith, it's part of how we're brought up by our parents. But sometimes we find that we lose ourselves because we're so focused on what other people need, and we tend to say yes to everything. Oh yes, I can do that. I can bake the cake. I can help with the children. I can do something at work, you know. And sometimes we don't really look after ourselves, and we can end up with illnesses, chronic illnesses, and mental and physical problems as well. Can be detrimental to our health if we do it too much without looking after our own needs as well.
Absolutely.
You know, it's the thing that just when you said those things caught up, because I taught my kids like sharing is caring and things like that, statements like this. But you know, we don't really set the boundaries out.
That's it.
There, so the inspiration is there, but you know, with the thing being too kind, people might just take it differently as well. Are you saying that we shouldn't be too kind?
Be horrible.
So and be horrible. So tell us more about what was the main message in this book that you've written.
So the main message in this book is obviously, you know, you're naturally, if you resonate with this title, lots of people have said the title really resonates with them when they hear about it and they say, oh, that sounds just like me. And if you feel that you have given a lot and you have sometimes neglected your own wishes or desires, you've put your ambitions behind somebody else's. And, you know, particularly as women, we do tend to do that because we're caring and we're expected to be caring, and it's part of our faith to be caring for everyone. And when we do that, sometimes we can forget ourselves. And actually a lot of men I work with as well, professional men, they find that they are the breadwinners, they are looking after their wife, their children, their parents, you know, their boss wants lots of reports from them like yesterday, and there's a lot of time pressure. And again, they want to please, they want to be the best, they want to do their best, and they have very good intentions, but sometimes their health care, their exercise, their eating habits, their sleeping, it goes to one side because they think, well, I have to get those things done first.
Well, I mean, I don't know any men like that, but I know I know women tend to do a lot of that. You know, they've got to take care of everybody, make sure everyone's okay, and you know, the children, the partners, the parents that they're not living with, the neighbors, the cats, the pets, everybody around. You know, that's normally, and they forget about themselves.
Yes.
But and I know, of course, kindness is a human. Trait that we all have, all worldwide, all beings. But do you think sometimes it's specifically certain cultures who don't know the boundaries of how to not be kind, but have a balance?
It's very interesting what you said about a balance is really important, but also you said about different cultures. I've been working for 10 years in my cognitive hypnotherapy practice in North London. It's a real melting pot. There's lots of different people from different places, different backgrounds, but it's a common thread that you find in every single culture, in every single background, and actually in men and women. It's almost like the sensitivity is an inbuilt thing that some people have, and they're so sensitive to other people's feelings. They can feel what the other person's feeling. So if someone says, "Oh, I'm struggling, I'm finding it hard," they immediately want to help. So they immediately switch into that action mode.
So, you know, I disagree with you that the women are the more sacrificing bit on that, because in my personal life, I have had men who have equally contributed to a positive lifestyle. And yes, the pressure is real sometimes. And, you know, like the stereotypes, the myths, like the men don't cry.
Absolutely.
The men can't feel pain. Those things lead them to that extra pressure as well at times.
I agree.
Talking about empathy, I read, it's funny because we were just reading and I was discussing it with my kids. You know, there's an actual thing that I wouldn't say a disorder, but there are people that are called empaths.
Yes.
That they can feel your emotion and they feel it like physically.
Yeah.
If you're in pain, they feel your pain physically. So interestingly, so, you know, you've talked so much about that. So setting those boundaries. Like, I know I'm not an empath. I wouldn't feel it. I would empathize with somebody if they're going through a situation or hard time. But how much should we empathize? Where are those boundaries?
Where are the boundaries? Very good question. And I would say that actually learning where your boundaries are is the first step. So you kind of imagine that, you know, this is me and this is not me. So there's a boundary. We have our skin, that's a boundary. But also we have certain people who we allow into our close circle, and they're within our boundary, our family, our friends, our very close people. And there are strangers who are further away from us. And if you think about it almost like a bubble, you can imagine a bubble around you. So it's something you can put on as you leave your home, for example. If you're leaving your home, just like we put on our clothes, we put on our, you know, the things that we're going to wear, how we're dressed and how we behave in the house, in our home is different to how we are when we're in our professional life or at school, college, university, work, and so on. And so it's almost like that. It's a kind of conscious thought that I'm going to take a moment before I say yes to everything. And a way to do that is to actually buy yourself a bit of time.
Yeah. So, I mean, from what you're saying, I take that, you know, I think the biggest relationship is really with yourself.
It is.
Before with anyone else.
Absolutely.
And that's something I feel, again, we need to be trained from the beginning.
Yeah.
But, you know, what you're saying, Marish, about being empathetic, which I agree, there's some people take it on and all of that. But that's different to kindness. Because you can be empathetic, you could feel what the people are saying, but are you going to show an act of kindness after that? Be feeling what someone else is feeling and then doing something about it. But just generally, I find, I'm no expert, but I do feel like I think that's one of the things I've learned in my own life, that, you know, it's the biggest relationship that's most important is first of all is with yourself.
Absolutely.
And you don't even think about that because you're just so busy serving.
You're just serving.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so I'm just wondering again that this book that you know, Too Kind.
Yeah.
If you hold it up, that would be great.
Sure.
And then, you know, this book, I'm just wondering, is it something stemmed off from your own experience?
Very good question. I mean, I'll give an example of something that I went through myself. So in my previous career, I was a teacher, primary school teacher, and I was one of those people. I wanted to be the best teacher. I wanted to give everything to my students and really, really make a difference. You know, that's why I went into that job, because it's not something you just do for the money. Let's face it, it's hard work. And, you know, I'd been through a bereavement. I'd lost my father and, you know, I was supporting my mum. And I was at that age in my life where everything was about my work and my mum and sort of getting on ahead in my life, but I wasn't really looking after myself. I wasn't sleeping enough. I would take on anybody's problems. People would come to me and, you know, I'd meet people and they'd just start telling me things and I'd really feel it very, very deeply.
Yeah.
And I realised that wasn't healthy and I ended up becoming quite unwell. And at one stage, I was sort of going to go to the next stage of my career, and I thought, no, I really have to change something here. So I decided to retrain, and that's when I became a hypnotherapist. I still kept up my teaching for a long time, sort of part-time and doing bits and bobs here and there. But it's been 11 years that I've been a hypnotherapist. And that was the main reason, was to have that one-to-one work where I could actually protect my time and energy because I need to look after myself and not become ill.
And how else? I mean, that's the best way to promote or advocate for something when you've actually
been
felt
through it
understood it yourself.
Yeah.
And you've gone through it and you've overcome that.
Yes.
Yeah.
That situation, that part of your life. And I mean, you can reflect on it. This is what the whole reflection is about.
But you know, the power of no. You know, the power of no. Why is no so offensive? And why are we so
It's so
afraid? I
interesting,
mean, I'm
isn't
not
it?
even I'm afraid to sometimes say
Yeah.
no. And even when you say it like, no, like, you know, oh, no, thanks. You know, like, because you're so afraid to say no, I just don't want to do it.
And I'm sorry, I'm going to interject, but nowadays, the lifestyle, the phones that we've got, the advanced phone, the touch screen, we're always there for anybody to pester us.
Exactly.
Like, be it work, be it anything. You can't cut off.
That's
so
it.
it's really difficult. So like Shah said,
How do you say no?
how do you say no?
How do you say no? I completely agree. And I think actually I've seen a real rise in the number of people seeking help since the pandemic, particularly because they're working from home. Those of us who can work from home, I now work from home as well a lot of the time. But people are they get emails at random times of day and night, and it's very hard for them to not reply because they want to be helpful and they want to, you know, they think, oh, that person's worrying about something, that's why they've emailed me, so I should reply now. So I would say, you know, I try really hard to respect other people's boundaries. So if a client was to contact me after 6 p.m, I would try very hard, unless it was an emergency, I would try very hard not to reply until tomorrow, but that is quite difficult.
Yeah.
But also, if I'm sending an email at 10 p.m, I would schedule it for tomorrow morning so that it doesn't arrive in their inbox and bother them. So it's also about understanding other people's boundaries and not overstepping those. But it is a practice. It's something you have to learn.
But again, it's hard to know everyone's boundaries. My boundaries will be different to Mirish's boundaries.
Exactly.
We'll all have different boundaries, and then it's about
I
knowing.
Listen, if I'm home, I'm cut off. You've seen
no,
me.
for example, I don't like to, you know, for example, I don't like to read emails on Monday to Friday.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not going to be looking at on Saturday, Sunday. But you're seeing ding, ding on your phone. You are seeing things coming through. But then someone else will be like, well, it's in her hand. She's got the phone. Why is she not responding?
Yeah.
But you know, that's a boundary that I've grown up with. You know, when you were younger, you had 9 to 5 hours. I mean, I know I don't even work in those kind of hours, but you know, things have changed from that. But still, I don't like to read emails on the weekend, for example.
Yeah.
But how do we know? Because obviously, everyone has different boundaries. It's about does it come back to reading the room?
I think the thing is, it's reading yourself. What works for you? So actually, you said this is about a relationship with yourself is the most important. You have your relationship with you know, your spirituality, with Allah, you know, and you have your faith, but you also really need to get to know yourself, because as you said, everybody's different. But if you don't know yourself, how can you tell somebody else what your boundaries are?
Yeah.
You can't make that clear to anyone. So if you were to have a business interaction, you might say, you know, thank you for your email. I will respond within 24 hours or within the next few days, or I will respond on X day, you know, and then they know what to expect, because boundaries are about expectations. So, you know, just like with children, you know, what they're allowed to do, what's out of bounds. Give them a set of
instructions.
You know, instructions. It's like that. It's really simple. Make it as easy as possible. You know, for other people.
Coming back to the book now, interestingly, after every chapter, you put an emphasis on certain thing that we neglect in our lives.
Yes.
Be it cultural or be it, you know, socially where we belong. So it's about exercise. So why is that the main focus? I mean, I think is it the main focus as well?
No.
Okay.
There are exercises in the book. So there are little things that you can do at the end of each chapter. So each chapter has one or more exercises. So some of them have 2 or 3, depending on what I've spoken about. So I might have spoken about a topic, and then I'll say, right, now you can try this for yourself, and here's an exercise you can follow. And all of those are available on my website, but they're also in the book.
So, yeah.
You know, what I find, you know, again, we're going back to the relationship part of ourselves, and, you know, how do we take care of ourselves? And, you know, we're obviously, you know, being kind to others as well. But again, we want to make sure there's some boundaries. We've got a balance, and finding out about yourself, so a lot of people don't find out about themselves for years and years and years later.
Yes.
And I find one of the quickest ways to find out about yourself is to just sit and it's scary to say this because it's a recommendation, but I say it with a disclaimer because sometimes some people cannot just sit with themselves. And I think I feel like it's one of the quickest ways to understand yourself.
Absolutely.
Is to sit by yourself. And a lot of people struggle with that.
They do.
And some people go crazy and go
berserk. They find it really hard.
Yeah, so in a way, I'm scared to say, you know, oh yeah, try it out, but you know, you're the expert, but you tell us what to do. But I find that for me
that's
has
a brilliant
worked.
suggestion. And actually, when I was really working on myself and trying to improve things and change my relationship with myself, I went away for a few days by myself, and I gave myself a list of challenges. So one of them was to eat at a restaurant, at a table with, you know, with food facing outwards on my own. Yeah. And to me, that was like a really big step because I'd never done that before because there'd always been other people around me. And no phone, no book, no magazine, nothing to look at. Yeah. But actually just savor the food, enjoy the food. And, you know, the person said, oh, will somebody be joining you? And for the first time I said, no. Yeah. I'm going to sit here by myself. And I stayed in the hotel. I read, I went for walks, I did some exercise. I just enjoyed a couple of days on my own. And it really made me realise I tried not to have any stimulus from outside. Yeah. Because we kind of sometimes just have things on in the background just to not feel lonely. But that is a really important thing.
Yeah, it's also really daunting.
It is.
It's daunting, isn't it?
And how do you find the time to do that?
Yeah. You know, being in education, you know, you hear this term, selective hearing. You know, children sometimes can turn off what they want, they don't want to hear. And I'm a personal example. I do that all the time. I mean, there's a disclaimer there. You shouldn't do that. You should listen to other people as well. But come to a point that, you know, it will be messages on my phone pinging. I'm reading a book and I was like, okay, I'll check as and when I can. If somebody from home is watching, they absolutely would agree 100% that's her. But I have got that. So until unless the voice shows me that, you know, tells me that the person is in pain, that needs my direct attention, I wouldn't respond. Right. I could turn that off, that side off. I don't know how. That's great. But I can. But now I want to ask you another question. I mean, like, but how would a person who knows about, who can empathize, who have empathy, how could you be empathetic to your own self?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
How could you change those things that you're giving to other people for yourself? Yeah.
So I would say it's really starting with the inner work. It's starting with yourself. So if you want to, you know, have positive, healthy relationships with other people, make an impact, be a happy person, have a good life, you know, be a good person, do good deeds, really you should start inside and work out what it is that are your real dreams and wishes and desires. They might be really simple. They could be simple as anything, like, you know, I love having a really nice hot cup of tea in the morning, simple as that, you know, or going for a walk every day if I can, you know. But sometimes we just don't do that. You know, we're rushing around and doing things and not giving ourselves the time. But it's sort of having that you know, you wouldn't deny somebody else. You'd say, oh, sit down, have your tea. But then it's sort of offering that to yourself as well.
I mean, it is about balance because obviously, you know, you don't want like to come across like selfish either, or be, you know, you don't want it to be, because as we progress and the world's, you know, re-evolving every day, it is becoming more inwards. It is becoming like me, myself, and you know, it is becoming more and more like that. But and surely from the religious side as well. I know everything is a balance. It really is, you know, but. Surely what you give will come back. Absolutely.
So the people I'm speaking to are the ones who are giving so much that they're depleted. So not the ones who are not really giving, because they're a different group. You know? Yeah. So it's really the sensitive souls who are already, they're overwhelmed. You know, sometimes we watch the news, we're bombarded by the information that's coming in from all angles, and it's very, very painful for some people. For everybody, but for many people, it really does hinder them from moving forward in their life because they are caught up in all of that passion because they feel so strongly. But that means that it stunts them from actually moving forwards, and it can really affect their mental health and actually their physical health. Because if you're mentally unwell, You will feel it in your body. It's all one system. It's not two separate things.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
So Zeenat,
Yes.
tell me your favorite chapter from the book. I know I've spotted my favorite
Have
chapter. That I've
you?
been
Already?
interested.
Wow.
I'm
Really?
interested in reading those things. At least that's not just one. There's about 2 chapters that
Yeah.
I'm liking the subheadings as well. The
Yeah.
parts that I would discuss it. Tell us about your favorite part or chapter.
I would say just the very beginning actually really sets the tone.
Yeah.
So you understand how to use the book, what its purpose is, who it's for. So you know, for some people the title will just switch them off.
Yeah.
That's not me, that's not for me. But they might know someone who will say, actually I know someone who this would be really good for. But I think right at the beginning I'm trying to explain how to use it, the purpose of it, and how I came to write it. And the clients that I was seeing, even though they had different problems on the surface, they had underneath it all, they had the same issue, which was their self-esteem, their confidence had been depleted because they were just constantly giving and not taking care of themselves.
As for our audiences, the first chapter, the opening chapter of the book is You Deserve to Be Happy. And it is for everybody.
Yeah.
Like you said it. And my other chapter that I would want to read would be talk to your partner about your feelings in depth and want to know the insight coming from a professional.
Yes.
Well, you sit there and you make that plan with your partner to have that conversation tonight.
With a cup of tea.
And then another cup of coffee. That'll be your 4th cup today. But Zeenat, I wanted to ask about any feedback you've had from people that have already got this book or read this book.
Well, I had some pre-readers before it went to the publisher, and they were saying that it was very concise. It was, you know, easy to read. And that was the idea, because I didn't want it to have any jargon and I wanted it to be accessible to anybody. And actually I had a phone call last night from my mum's cousin, my auntie, and she was so sweet. She rang me and she said that her daughter-in-law had bought the book for her and I'd signed it for her. And she was ringing to say thank you. And she said, I've read a few pages and I'm really pleased that I can understand it because, you know, she's a different generation. And she said, I wasn't expecting to be able to get into it, but I have. And that's really lovely because that's the idea. It's sort of a guide. It's supposed to be simple.
Yeah.
If you're having lots of problems, you don't want a great big book that's going to put you off. You want something accessible,
like a manual.
easy. Yeah,
Heavy manual.
Exactly.
Regarding your problems A to Z. So I know we're reaching the end of the segment.
Yes.
So before you leave us, I wanted to ask you, what are your future plans? Any other plans for any other upcoming books that our viewers should be watching out for?
Absolutely. So at the moment, I haven't got any plans for any other books, but with this book, I have got 2 things that I am going to be doing. So one of them is I have a book club that's starting in June. So once people buy the book, all they have to do is send me a picture on social media or take a photo and email me and say, I've bought the book. And I want to be in the club. They can come for free for 3 months. We're going to meet once a month and we're going to read a chapter and then do the exercises together. So you'll get the opportunity to read it yourself, but then you'll have me on the call with you in a Zoom call with lots of other people who are engaged, who've been reading it, and then we can really explore, you know, the different issues that come up.
Amazing.
And I'll be there to answer questions.
It's not just a book club then, it's almost like a little bit of a
it's like a little
therapy session.
Therapy session, but
Oh,
a fun
Therapy club, I would say.
It's fun and it's going to
that's
be
amazing.
exciting. Lots of people have already signed up for it, which is wonderful.
Could
so
you
one.
also share your Instagram handle where
Yes.
our audiences can buy the
Absolutely.
book and share it?
Yes, it's available on Amazon. And it's on Kindle and it's on paperback, and it's also available in Waterstones for anyone who's not a fan of Amazon.
Yeah.
And if you want a signed copy, you can go to my website, which is www.zeenatahmed-peto.com.
Yes.
And also, I'm on Instagram, Zeenat Hypnotherapy, and you can find me online.
That's
wonderful.
There
Well,
you have
that,
it.
Yeah, and that brings us to the end of the show. But if you've got anything, just a quick few seconds to say anything to the viewers today, any advice?
I would say the key messages are, you have one life, take care of yourself, be kind to others, but also be kind to yourself. And you can make others happy, but you can make yourself happy too.
That's beautiful.
That
very,
is.
very beautiful. And with that all said, thank you so much, Zeenat, for being here with us this morning on Wednesday, Salaam Britain. It isn't the brightest of days, but you've given us some very, insightful advice and great book to read, inshallah.
Absolutely. And like for our audiences, the book is here. That's the cover. We've got a little bit green. Zeenat's wearing green. I'm wearing green. Shaz has got a bit of green. So the green is the green light that you need right now to go on Amazon and buy the book. Thank you so much, Zeenat.
Thank you so much, Zeenat. Thank you.
And now it's time for another commercial break. So don't go anywhere. Stay tuned to see what